Oh, hey everyone. I was just doing something real quick. I don't know how many times more I'm gonna do that. Maybe never. I don't know. But there's this thing that people do where they try to sell that they were already doing something as if there was no camera on, like as if they didn't realize or notice, and it's just selling the image. There's so many ways to sell the image. It's incredible. And then if someone says what, they're just joking, why were they doing it in the first place if they didn't literally believe their lie? And so they backtrack, they backpedal, as people would call it in this world, in this phrase that's used all the time. And there's too many ways to do it every day. Someone just speaks of what they themselves do constantly and never seek to do anything else except its own ways. Never even remotely have any ability to care at all. And it's a lie. That's not truth. And someone gets caught in their lie and they can't come out, cannot come out. They have to believe the image that they themselves created and are selling, lest they be exposed by the whole world, lest they be seen for a beast. And everybody's doing it. Therefore, if you go along, no one will see. And that's about as foolish as it gets. But everyone will go along as if it's real because everyone else is doing it. All, great and small, rich and poor, slave or free, worship the image of the beast that have the mark of the devil in them still. A servant for the sin and the enemy for self. But what came to mind for this is Messiah. What is it meaning? He went to the grave, basically, even dying, reading in Isaiah 53 prophecy of Messiah. And the Father speaking of Messiah as even his servant. It's just weird to have God as a servant to the Almighty. The Almighty Yehovah had a servant who's called God, a righteous God, right? Isn't that what they have to say? Because the Father calls him his righteous servant. But why is Messiah righteous? Because of his own righteousness or the Father's righteousness working in him? Which one? So then they would have to say the Father's righteous God servant. But that's not something that enters the mind in those that don't love truth. They're already in the delusion, never coming out of it in this life. Not as long as someone doesn't love the truth. I might just read all of Isaiah 53 here. That's what came to mind earlier, and some more thoughts added to it. There we go. No. 53 words of life. It's 5 and 3. 53 is 8. The new creation about Messiah. But really it's about the Father through Messiah. And yet it is about Messiah, just not in any prideful way. Who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of Yehovah been revealed? That's a good question. For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or comeliness, and when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him? Definitely not. Definitely not. Not while the old man's alive, for sure. But even naturally, the only prophecy I know of that might speak just a little bit of that outward, but is it meaning some outward meaning only? The lower earthly things? What is it that people despise and don't desire? Do they see that the Father's truth is beautiful or desperately wicked and gross? He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by Elohim, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. For who? Our wounded for our transgressions. Why is Messiah going through all this? Big part of it, and that's how the Father also shows what love is doing the absolute most insane, impossible thing, even dying to the literal death for other people's literal sins. It's why they killed him, because he put on their sins, and they hate the Father, and they hate Messiah, and they hate righteousness. They hate all that's good. It's not just one thing, but sometimes you have to bring out just one aspect of something, and it doesn't mean automatically there's nothing else to it. And a big part of it is he was bruised for our iniquities, our transgressions. The chastisement, no chastening is pleasant at any current time. Present time, we read, I think the apostle saying somewhere, or maybe one of the others, disciples. I don't know exactly where it's at now. Messiah wasn't chastised, so something's going to happen to a believer in Messiah that Messiah did not experience and go through at all. I don't think so. That's not who the Father is. He didn't forget anything. He doesn't have some disease and memory problems. That would be man. He's a disease and has a lot of memory problems, but specifically spiritually speaking. But what does the chastisement lead to? We read elsewhere, peace and righteousness. Well, the chastisement of our peace. The chastisement for our peace was upon him. Who is it for? To be completely selfless, as Messiah was doing the Father's works, his perfect selflessness, something the world can't comprehend and doesn't believe anyone is doing, because they don't do it or see it, and they don't see anyone else doing it or see it. They don't believe there's believers in this world, nor do they want to. And when that day comes that someone does see, they won't believe it. That's what will happen most of the time, unless the Father has mercy and a little bit of light and grace is given. They will sell like they want truth. They will sell that image, beautiful images. Not necessarily that these are beautiful, but nevertheless, it doesn't matter. Someone might call this beautiful, and that's not the point at all. The point is it's selling an image that it loves truth, and it gets in people's minds. That's the image someone wants to sell, so that they believe something about that person, exactly what they want others to believe that they are. Why? To hide what they really are and not acknowledge the truth at all. So there's incentive coming from corruption to do evil, and it's an evil incentive to do more evil But that's not what the enemies will agree with at all. But that's the truth. It's evil incentive to do more evil, because evil is good to man. That's a reward. That's something to strive for, is how to be more evil and deceitful. How to deceive someone and make it look like you were doing something and working so hard while the video is going on, and then, oh, here I am. God has arrived. I didn't notice that I had the camera on me, on my face. And I don't know, maybe we'll do some speaking of the scripture and some morning musings or something. Chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. But if someone never gets stripes, if that were to never happen, there is nothing to heal. There's nothing to notice. There's nothing to learn. There's nothing to see. Someone has to see why this is happening. And the only way healing can come is through belief in truth. Then they can understand why this happens and see the cause through the Father's judgment. And then the healing can come. It's even in this literal order: stripes, then healed. Of course, there is all those things that have to happen between stripes and healed, but this is only one verse and not the sum of his word right here. Like we do read, the sum of his word is truth. The total of it, the completeness of it is truth. It doesn't mean that one piece is not truth, but it sounded like it. Someone could sell that image and that lie. If you say the sum of his word is truth, that means one verse is not truth. Yes and no. It depends what the heart's doing. It depends if the heart's saying that it's not truth as an evil and that it's literally not truth, or someone is saying one verse is not truth with the intention and understanding of to not think one verse is complete and total truth, but it's all of it together as truth and not just one verse. Because if someone doesn't believe or understand that, they will use his word deceitfully. Anything except that truth, and the word is being used deceitfully, just for that alone. Now to the next 10,000 things someone has to learn in their life. Who knows how much there is to learn. Just not following that one thing, someone will use his word deceitfully if they don't understand and believe that the sum of his word is truth and not just one verse. And that one verse is truth. But if it's being used in a way as if that's the whole truth and just put a whole entire new doctrine on it, put on your own everything on it, as if the Father doesn't know man would do this, as if he doesn't know that his word, as if his word is actually incomplete. That should fire some kind of something in someone for hearing that, because that's all we see is people that really believe it's incomplete constantly. It's all that's ever really taught and believed in the heart. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every individual, and everyone to his own way. There's the sin. His own way. It's already a sin if it's our own way, even if it looks perfectly right and good. If it's being done our own way, it's actually wickedness in the heart that just masquerades as looking good on the outside. And Yehovah has laid on him, Messiah now, as we get this pattern here, it's the Father speaking of him, Messiah. And that is important. And Yehovah has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Messiah also teaches to pick up the stake, pick up your stake and follow daily, die daily. And we read to follow after his footsteps, becoming in the image of the one who first became in the image of the Father. So then these should start looking the same spiritually, because there's nothing wrong with looking like someone's image, as long as that someone, if I can even say someone without it being messed up because it's not perfect, is the Father himself, then there's nothing wrong with that. It's only a problem when it's sin, the evil, and not the good, not the one side of the sword versus the other. It's a double-edged sword. There's not just one side to any of his word. It cuts both ways. That means it's sharp both ways, and it will either make someone bitter and turn away from him and fill up with wrath, and that sword will enter their gut, discern their heart, and then they die. Or it's going to slice and slash with the other edge and destroy a believer too for life because of denial of self, because of belief, because of acknowledgement of everything that's true, that self is nothing and can do nothing. As Messiah taught, even himself, he could do nothing. Of myself, I can do nothing. Then he also said, without me, you can do nothing, because the Father made Messiah the head of everything. And nothing is done without going through Messiah. And that means it really does go through him. It's not just a phrase or a catchphrase. It goes through him. And some interesting things we read in this chapter. So then the two sides, the good or evil, the death or death, which one is it? Is it death for life or death for death? Death for destruction that leads to death, or death that leads to life. Both will look the same to the carnal mind without any understanding or discernment. That's why they counted him as stricken, smitten by Elohim, because of the rotten sinner. It's not that believers aren't sinners or have never sinned. That's not even in the spiritual equation right now. It's that the person in wickedness saying this is doing it out of a hypocritical, deceitful, evil heart with murderous intentions. That's what it's about. Do they now understand what believers, all of them, must go through? That their sins have to be judged right now on earth and being taken care of and actually overcome before their life's over? What might that look like? And he uses that judgment and works it out for good, but it's because of sin. That's the only way someone can learn, while not using his grace as a license to sin, because it sure sounds like that's the truth. It's what someone wants to hear. They won't say that that's what you're even teaching. Sin some more so grace increases, because they don't see the narrow way, that spiritual way between these two contradicting things that the natural mind can only see, that looks contradicting to it, even though that's what it does, is contradicting things all the time. So it condemns itself when it accuses the Father's word of being evil in any way, shape, or form. They had no discernment and no sight. They killed him before they killed him. That's what people are doing today. No different. They murdered Messiah before they literally murdered him, because they murdered him with their heart and wanted him to be murdered with a cruel, bitter, unforgiving, deceitful heart. And he did no evil. Why was he? Well, I think we read in this chapter. Now, how much sight could the Pharisees have to kill the Messiah, who is full of the Father's Spirit, was, and is? What kind of discernment is that, to kill the actual Messiah, son of Elohim, the only begotten Son, even at the time? And that's a strong truth that the world must hate, the only begotten Son. At the time, no one else knew the Father like Messiah knew the Father, because he was the beginning of the new creation, the beginning of everything that the Father's word means for us to do from the heart, for what the works and intentions and thoughts are from the heart, of which his word is speaking about constantly and only as the highest and first thing. He lived his word as first, before anyone else. He's at the head. He's at the top because he was made to be by the Father. And no one can say otherwise. Who's going to speak back to the Creator and say, why did you do this? I don't like it. It's a bunch of nonsense. It's like a 5-year-old trying to talk back to its parents. It doesn't even make sense, but it makes sense in the carnal mind because rebellion can't stand truth, can't stand having anything over it. It wants to be the Creator that it's not in its heart. So they could accuse Messiah, and who? If they can accuse him, what can they accuse all believers of? Assuming someone is a believer and these things are taking place and they are doing the works of the same works Messiah did. As Messiah said, you will do to his disciples, to his people. What works did they think that believers were supposed to do? Since everybody hates him, he must be the cursed of all the earth. He must be smitten because he's a rotten sinner. Look at him. He's getting owned by the Creator. It's interesting someone can say that and not believe in him at all. Can't believe anything for self, can it? But it's easy to just throw out accusations anytime, anywhere, for anyone else except self. Because it never does righteous judgment. It always judges by its carnal eyes and ears. What it sees and what it hears. That's all it does. Never can see self. It's talking about itself. It's smitten. It's in destruction. It's in the death that it's accusing Messiah is in. Talking about self, because that's all the blind carnal man and mind can do, is talk about self and condemn itself guilty for its every accusation it makes against everyone else. In hypocrisy. Is there a way to do this without hypocrisy and not do an actual evil that's coming from the heart? Yes, there is, and man doesn't know it. That doesn't know the Father. He doesn't see a way, doesn't believe in that way. He will accuse you of doing what it does itself all day long, no matter what it sees. If it sees actual good, it will be counted for evil every time without fail. If a believer doesn't do something perfect, they can see what looks like that not being true because the believer didn't do what was perfect in that moment. Some kind of sin, screw up, whatever it is, lack of knowledge, not there yet with something. Then the result will be looking like that's not true, because if the believer did what was perfect and true in that moment, it will be hated every time if it was good works done for real. Because carnal man cannot love anything that's good, but it'll praise and stick itself to you if you do evil. It'll be there for you for evil. So that's why there's a discernment here. It depends what someone does, because the Father doesn't judge according to what people say only, but according to the actual works at the present time, according to what's actually done. So if it was a perfect work in that moment, and it was a good work before anyone around, they can't love that. They have to hate it. If they killed Messiah, the head of the whole body, and were that blind about someone so obviously filled up with the Father's Spirit and truth, as we read, and grace was on him, favor was in him, on him from the Father, what will they do to everyone under the head if they did that to the head of the body? Can the body stand without the head? But I use that example not to say the body's going to fail, but to make a connection with the head and body, that if it's done to the head, down goes the body too. They'll do it to the body also, because no one's greater than their master. No one's greater than their master because of the Father's perfect righteousness and works with no partiality. He made Messiah the head. Now he's the head. He's the actual king. But people are ready to worship and bow their knee to some carnal, wicked king on earth. But this is an abomination to them that there's an actual king over them that they deny. It's okay to worship some God-man king that's doing evil. But then speaking about a king, well, now it's an abomination. How dare you say that there's a king? Okay, so why does this world have a bunch of kings? Why has it always been that way? Isn't that a little strange that it's lining up with the Father's truth and not something else? Why has it always been kings? Because these things are types and point to the true. But the carnality itself is evil. And that goes deep for what that is and what it means. Too many different things and examples could be said connecting to all this. He was oppressed by what? Who? The devil. And mankind is the devil also, because anyone of the devil is the devil and the beast. In the devil's image, being waxing worse and worse, or created every day without the Father, getting worse and worse, waxing, increasing worse and worse. In that old beast, that serpent, that devil image. Not the Father's image, the true Elohim, but in the false God of this world, Elohim. The beast's image, the image of the beast, which is everything false, lies, tricks, deception, isn't real. Images aren't real. I could destroy these images. Well, maybe by destroying my screen real quick. Nothing will change in reality in the heart. Won't even change literally on the outward, but that's not even the point. No, nothing will change. There is no reality with this. It doesn't do anything for real, but people believe it does. What's the proof? Well, people make money off of these things. That must be proof it's real. Okay. No ears to hear or eyes to see. How can someone see or hear? Of course they can't believe that. They worship the image. Of course it's real to them. A delusion is real to the one experiencing it. How much confusion happens every day? I see it all the time. I see literal confusion where someone thinks this literally happened and this was literally said, and they're spinning in circles at the restaurant, having no clue what's going on. I had someone think that I left while I was standing right in front of them just the other day. I was standing right in front of them. I mean, like 3 feet apart. And they're doing some stuff and I'm facing the person and they're facing me. They give me the food, didn't give me the drink that I could see. 3 feet away. Forgot about that for some reason. Here's the food. And then I'm standing there. Finally, the person looks up. They notice I'm like, the drink. What about the drink? Didn't even answer according to what I said because it's out of confusion. It doesn't make sense. Didn't even answer according to what about the drink. Said something that has nothing to do with that specifically and directly. And that something was, oh, the person already came and took whatever the name of the customer's food was. Let's just say Bob. The person already took Bob's food. I was like, what? Person already took this food. I am that person. Here's the food. It's literally what I did. Here it is. Oh, there goes the confusion. Once they realized that was delusion and confusion, then you could see it pour out on the outside. Now, why in that specific moment and all that stuff, the Father knows. But I see it all the time. Just for speaking to people, they get confused. It's incredible. The simplest things they cannot answer or do. It's incredible. And they get afraid too, start shaking inside. I can see it. For what seems like no reason, so that's strange, because there's always a reason and a cause. But to this world, there would be no cause. They didn't see anything with their carnal eyes that would cause someone to do what they're doing. That's something that unbelievers will never come to see. So long as they're in unbelief, they'll never see the true cause. And it has something to do with the Father's word as a hint to them. oppressed and afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. We also read to oppressed by the devil. Messiah came to set the captives free and to be oppressed by the devil. Well, there's two things again, two swords, edges to the sword. Because those that are in unbelief, they are pressed by the enemy. They are in sin. They're being overcome specifically to be oppressed in that way, overcome by the sin. They can't stop. They won't stop. It's getting worse. They keep on going, and that sin is destroying them within. It's like a Gehenna fire, hellfire. Gehenna fire, destruction, judgment, outside of the camp for the Gentile or court of the Gentiles, like we read in the Old Testament scriptures range, pointing to the judgment, the spiritual judgment that would begin in the new covenant in Messiah, and Messiah fulfilled that type, dying outside, because it's for all, not just whoever the Father says are his people now, but for all, even though there is a his people right now that are not his people for the rest right now. That's true too. And because someone doesn't see what they think they should see or want to see, they say, well, he's wicked, he's partial. Well, because of Christianity's doctrine, that only helps further believe that corrupt lie, because of the forever unending punishment that everyone will receive save a small few. They twist and mix and stir the pot and cause confusion and evil through this lying doctrine. Little bits of grenades scattered everywhere, tiny bits of truth everywhere, which isn't truth when it's mixed with a lie. And then people only believe the lie. They use Christianity as a foundation to blame everything on his word. It's real convenient for the devil. You could see it. It's real nice for the devil to have Christianity as big as it is, to just be a scapegoat, GOAT, greatest of all time, because that's who the enemy wants to be. How obvious is it? Strange. Stranger things than this. And the other side of oppressed is to be overcoming the works of the devil, which cause destruction, which is for life, to do good works and receive life. The devil will try and attack and oppress all, but now to come after believers and send a flood like we read in Revelation for them. That's the intent, to flood them out completely. Destroy the believers completely is the intent. But the Father protects his people, and it swallows up the flood, and it didn't do its desired intention because the enemy has no power against the Creator. No reality to that. It's whatever the Father allows, that will stand and become true. He allowed Messiah to be captured in the end and die for the sins of the world, literally, to be overcome by the beast, as we read in Revelation. Messiah was the first to be overcome by the beast. Is that offensive to Christianity? It must be. It must be. It must be very offensive to everyone that doesn't have truth in them at all, because that's not what someone wants to hear. The only hope, believer, or this truth gets overcome by the beast. Then how will they explain Messiah being overcome by the beast? Who else was it that literally killed him and destroyed him in this way? But now we're not speaking spiritually. He literally got overcome. But what does that mean to the Father? Does that mean someone got overcome for real? No, it does not. In fact, it's part of his plan, because that's the utter test, the final test of someone's works. It's the utter test at the end to see if they will do what's right and be selfless all the way to death, with no hate and wickedness in the heart towards the enemy while they do it. That's an extreme level of righteousness that needs to be attained. And with the way this world is, that must sound stupid and crazy and prideful. But it's the truth. What else? Wickedness, the amount of testing, the amount of will from above, from the Father in Messiah to do good all the way to death is severe. It would make anyone shake until they vibrate so hard they die spiritually. They wouldn't be able to handle it, nor could I handle it if it were to come right now. I wouldn't be able to handle it right now. Everyone has to be built up day by day. And the more it's built up, the more testing comes, the more pressure comes. And that's what keeps on building, is that pressure and testing and overcoming while it's proving what a believer's works are, the Father's works. It's proving whether or not these good things are being done during these pressures, tests. Without a test, it counts for nothing. It doesn't count for anything. That's a truth. Zero testing in one moment is zero proof for anything, nothing. It just doesn't count. Just delete it. Sitting in the couch all alone at home with nothing to do, no schedule, is not patience. It literally is not patience because there's no test. It doesn't prove anything, and that's not too hard to understand. That's the truth, though. That's what his word teaches. Otherwise, why would we read so many times about this testing? I will test them to see if they keep my commandments or no. All the way back in that Old Testament, that old scripture that's true and good and never changes. I will test them. That means something. That doesn't mean words. That testing is a pressure within. It's a spiritual reality. It is a pressure, a test on to see what will someone do. Messiah was tested. He was chastised. He was brought up by the Father. He learned, as we also read, through suffering. These things are all in his word. He learned through suffering. Can someone learn without suffering? Well, from the carnal perspective, unfortunately not, but not needing to really literally call it unfortunate, as in believing that in the heart, because that would be the unbeliever. It's very unfortunate, but speaking out a truth to try to bring out how severe it is. Unfortunately, that's so. That's the only way. There's no way to learn without suffering. So religion takes these words and some ideas and creates its own things and creates the image of the true that isn't true, and it never does these works, never can see what they are and learn them. When testing comes on Buddha, it does wickedness in its heart every time without fail. I've never seen anything different. I don't care what religion someone's in. They've not been able to do good to me. No, when I see a test, there is no good. No one can do good. And that scripture has to be proven to believers. Not even one, not even self is good. And that's a bitter thing. His word is sweet in the mouth, like honey. Hearing the words, the good, it's not deep yet. It hasn't digested yet. But when it's digested, it becomes bitter. What those sweet words are and mean starts turning bitter after a little bit of digestion. Boy, is that true. If anything, his way would constantly want to steer people away for hearing what it really is. There's nothing attractive from the carnal mind to it. There's not. There's nothing that would make someone want to believe and do the Father's will. You have to be insane to do that. You have to have some kind of grace. You have to have some kind of mercy shown to understand just a little bit about who the Father is to be insane enough to continue. Which is the hope for a few, that someone wouldn't turn around when they hear truth and walk away forever. But many will, because they followed Messiah for a time, and many of them, except the true disciples, they turned away. Who can hear these hard words? What does that look like? Hard words. These very things right now that I'm speaking of are hard words. It's not about literally sounding hard only or carnally hard in that it sounds hard, but it's spiritually hard. It's real. Hard because it's so against who and what man is. It's so offensive. It's such a torment to hear it. That's exactly what his word teaches it is to man. People need to know that's what it's supposed to be like. Otherwise, they'd receive the lie that it's not supposed to be like that. You can count on it that anyone that believes that continually is in a strong delusion that's leading to more and more real sin and unbelief in the heart. Yes, it does matter what someone believes, whether they're deceived or not. The enemy tries to attack by getting you to believe a lie. It doesn't matter what lie it is. If someone can convince you that this toothpick is made of plastic and you believe it, and I believe it, that will lead to more sin, and the enemy knows it. That's how much people love you. They want you to go into death and destruction. They'll laugh because it's about a toothpick. It doesn't matter what it's about. If someone's getting you to believe an actual lie in reality and say it is a lie, but the person doesn't believe it, it's because they believe the lie. They don't believe it's a lie. That's believing a lie. That's sin. That's, for us, believers can't be doing that. That's sin. It's going to lead to death. It's going to destroy and blind someone. Messiah commands, do not be deceived, as like one of the first things in Matthew, among all the other verses below that. Like the first one of them is, don't be deceived. Many false prophets going out, deceiving many. That's the reality. That's the truth. That's what it's been and will be and always has been. But not literally forever, but it might as well be forever in this life, in this age. It is forever until this wicked age ends. Yeah, he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb. What did the apostle say? Apostle Paul. We are led like sheep into the slaughter, killed yet not killed, this yet not that, beaten yet not, utterly destroyed, smitten, all the different things, whatever he said, word for word, are heavy things, real things. Messiah was led to the slaughter. Father led him to the slaughter. So why did Messiah say, go out, I send you as sheep amongst wolves? What's a wolf going to do to a sheep, especially if it's hungry? Especially if it's never hearing and taking in the Father's word. No heavenly food, no heavenly water, no drink. It's thirsty, it's hungry, it's desperate, and it's a wolf. By nature, what's a wolf going to do even when it's not going to do good? It can act like it does good when it's nice and fat and full and just had a meal. Does that change that it's a wolf? It's still a wolf if it doesn't do some kind of worst case scenario evil. Oh, I didn't kill someone. That means I'm righteous. I didn't commit literal adultery last week. That means I'm righteous. No, it doesn't. It's still a wolf. It's still doing real evil in the heart. It is evil, and it's what its being is. It is a wolf. It's who and what it is. It is evil, even if it doesn't do the worst thing in that moment, the worst thing possible. That's how man makes himself self-righteous. He compares something worse, some brutal, disgusting thing, perverted, disgusting things, and says, I didn't do that right now. He has to let everyone know how righteous he is. That's a sign that someone's doing wickedness, because they have to get it out. They cannot hold that in. Cannot hold it in. Nope. No, they can't hold it in. They cannot hold it in. They have to let someone know they're righteous because they're under the Father's judgment in reality, doing evil, doing self-righteous works through pride, through foolishness, blindness, through an evil heart with evil intentions. only looking to help its own selfishness. It's not selfless a day in its life. It doesn't know what it is. That's all I've ever seen for works, for proof of the Father's word. I'm only seeing that the proof is bitter. The only way someone's going to see the real proof is if they really do seek him and to seek to do his will. And what is that proof? It's connected to a lot of evil. That is the proof. Not being able to do good and starting to see what evil is and that others cannot do good is the proof. What kind of proof did Messiah see all around him? Everywhere, every day. As long as there was a person next to him, he saw proof of man's evil and the Father's word being true. Not one is righteous, not even one. And Messiah knows that truth. He believes that about himself. He knows that's true for himself. That's something an enemy can never have in their heart. They do not believe that at all. They do not actually believe that they are sinners and miserable, wretched, poor, blind, and naked. No, they don't. They can say it and sell the image, which is what something looks like. But in the heart, reality in heaven, heavenly things, higher things, it's not so. That would make Father an unrighteous judge, confused and deceived by man. It's the other way around. Father is not confused and deceived by man. He is a righteous judge, and man is confused and deceiving others and being deceived. He was taken from prison and from judgment. And who will declare his generation? All of this is about Messiah mostly here. Isaiah 53. Of course, we do read about the Father doing these things, but it's specifically, he has no form, comeliness. When we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him, because he's not selling anything on the outside. He's not selling beauty. He is whatever real is, which is truth. He is whatever the heart is becoming and is the Father's heart, the Father's image. And the Father's image doesn't sell anything. Therefore, it doesn't increase its beauty on the outside because it's not trying to. It's not trying even. It's not selling. Selling is trying. No one can say otherwise. Try to sell something without trying. How stupid is that? It's very simple. And that's true for me. I can't do that. You have to try to sell. And we read, what do we read about in Revelation? Save a certain people, the many. Well, I don't know how it's worded right this moment, but everyone buys and sells the mark of the beast, the image of the beast, worships the image of the beast. But there's a few who cannot, and that cannot is not that they've never failed. It's not what it's meaning. It's speaking in truth what cannot be done. It cannot be so in truth, in the Father's righteousness. It cannot be so that they do that. These cannot be buying and selling. These do not buy and sell. Only those that have the mark, save those that have the mark, which is the many. And how does it read? It reads the opposite. The way that what came to mind in more than once, many times, is the way we read that in Revelation, you would think it's flipped. I think I know why the Father does this with his word. It only trips up man who doesn't want to seek him, so that it'll prove that they don't seek him. It'll separate them. Here is the pile of carnality. Here is the pile of truth. Someone would have thought that pile was evil automatically, right? Pile, a garbage pile, a dung. So why can't we say pile and truth without any evil intent? Because that's the only thing that matters is intent. Could use pile the way we want, wicked, always trying to control and tell someone what to do, desperate to. That control spirit is floating around everywhere. Repent. That's the truth. Want to see proof? Faith is needed. There's no proof without faith, can't even please him without faith. So it's asking for something that's impossible so that it promises and guarantees to itself that it's not possible. That happens all the time. So many examples, more than I could even remember at all right now. So much that I can't remember one hardly, because it's everywhere. All the time that the carnal mind does this. It makes sure that what it's about to say in falsehood or whatever is not possible, so that it can say it's not possible. That's a corrupt heart. That's a corrupt heart. It's not righteous. That's not good. It's not the Father's work. The Father doesn't do this with his own truth. He makes sure it's not impossible so that he could say it's impossible. It's impossible with man, but it's not literally impossible, because that truth is supposed to be through him. He does the works. And that is possible. It's just not possible from us alone. Just rightly dividing two things. Where was it? Why they made a grave? Oh. And they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death. They made his grave with the wicked. That means something. It's what their heart did. It's what man's heart did here. He wasn't considered of the wicked. He's the Father's only begotten Son. He didn't do evil for them to deserve this. But what can the image of the beast sell every time without fail? Every time without fail. It'll never fail. For the possibility to sell it will never fail. And I'm speaking that in a way that's real but bad, evil. That's a bad thing. That is not, it sounds good. Something impossible, never fail. Never fail. That's usually good, right? That's great. No, this is bad that it never fails. The possibility for this is it never fails to be a possible thing, to sell the image of the beast. They can sell that Messiah is a wicked sinner because it looks like it. It really does. It looks like he's getting punished and the judgment's hard on him. In a way it is, but not like the way the wicked are doing and selling and thinking and believing evilly in their heart. Judgment begins at the house of Elohim. It starts on them now. So that is true. So they can mix that and twist it and make Messiah look like everything that's happening to him is because he's just sinning left and right. That's what they're selling, that he's literally sinning left and right and is beyond wicked. He's an unrighteous, unbelieving heretic that does nothing but sin continually. That's what they're selling from their heart. And they made his grave with the wicked. That's what this means. They did this. This isn't truth. He wasn't of the wicked, the rich at his death. They make him look like he loves money. Put him with the rich. Yeah, that automatically means that. Even though all the works prove the opposite, someone still sells the image of the beast and everyone believes it. Why? Because he had done no violence. That's why they did this. Is that a cause in this world? It's not a cause in this world. This is without a cause in reality. They did all this evil and continue to do evil to him by doing evil to believers today. Because he's done no violence. Because that's why. If he did violence, they wouldn't have done the same things. Someone can still hate someone and all that. That's a separate thing to be spoken of. It's because he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. He did not do the works of deceit from the heart coming out of his mouth at all. He didn't do those works to them. He spoke truth. Called them exactly what they really were. That's truth. It's not evil automatically. It could be done evilly. He didn't do that evil with them. He made his grave with the wicked because he did good, because he didn't do violence, because he didn't deceive. That is wicked to the wicked. You must deceive to be good. You must do sin in the heart, not just the image. You must do actual sin from the heart to be accepted in this world by the devil's system and kingdoms. You have to. And there's a difference, and no one can hide. Someone thinks, well, because spiritual things are invisible, you can just hide. No, it really works like that. You cannot hide. You must do evil in the heart. You must lust. You must commit adultery. You must murder. You must steal and rape people from the heart to be accepted in this world and not counted as Messiah with the wicked because of doing good, not doing violence, but no deceit. Must. That's the war. It's a spiritual war. These things are about spiritual things, not carnal only. That's not the heavenly thing. That is not the first thing. That's not what his word means in that way. Not that it doesn't have anything to do with anything else, but it's not what it means because it's very specific. Whatever his word means, these are the spiritual heavenly things that man doesn't see. It doesn't mean there's no connection to anything else. It's just that there is no other truth. That is the truth. That's the first thing. That's the highest thing. Spiritual things, real things, the heart, its works and intentions and the thoughts. The invisible things to the naked eye, that is, to the carnal eye, but they're not invisible in that they don't exist. And they're not invisible to the Father. He sees it, all of it. He sees all of it, and discernment is something that he gives his people to see those things. A gift, something that's needed in order to follow the command not to be deceived. If someone doesn't have discernment given ever, they will be deceived. It's needed. So he supplies what we need. Who believes it? Very few. Not many. He doesn't command and then it's literally impossible and never, but it does have to be given and received from him though. Someone really does have to ask. From what? Their mouth? No. Their heart. They have to ask from the heart. That's all the difference in the world. That's the difference between truth and the image of the beast. The image of the beast never does righteousness from the heart, never does the actual works. It cannot ask the Creator for anything from the heart. And when it spits out a bunch of words in spite and violence, give me this, give me that. See, I said it. Give me this, give me that. See, I said it. And that's just a little bit of the carnal man pouring out, and really, even though that's done literally, but really the first thing for me, why is that's what someone's within is that noise, is that anger out of evil and hypocrisy and confusion. It's like that's what it is within. And that thing needs to die because that's not good. Not even the devil would say that's good, and that's pretty foolish. The image it sells, it's ashamed of its own self. How dumb is this? Can't believe what the world is and what man is sometimes, including self always. Can't believe what it is. It's hard to believe and comprehend at times, just banging my head on the wall, spiritually at the very least. It's bad. It's real bad. So when someone says the words and spits out those words, did they do what that work means to the Father? The work in the heart, in truth, in good, with sincerity. It's true, meaning no deception. Zero. That's what it means that someone has to ask. Zero deception for an intent. Zero evil. And this is just to bring out, it's not demanding a believer's perfect in one day. That's a separate thing also. It's just to bring out that this work has to be good and it can't be fake. It can't be evil. It can't be with a crooked intent. So when someone just goes, blah, 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 I asked, did they do that? They said they did because they literally said they did. They said the words, and now they did it because they said they did it. Father sees nothing. He didn't see anything. There was no good work done there concerning the truth. It's missing. It wasn't done. It was never done. when that's what that is, counting for being done. It's not. It doesn't count for him. They won't receive. He won't give. He won't give a believer if they're doing that in that moment. No, he won't. No, we have to be corrected and actually repent and ask. He won't give anything to anyone, including believers, in that moment, doing that work. Nothing will be given except punishment. Prefers punishment. Man prefers punishment. His works prove it. It's real contradicting. It is stupid. It does. This is something that sounds stupid because it is stupid. There's things that only sound stupid, and it's not. That would be all of the Father's word. And then there's things that are stupid. They sound stupid because they're stupid. Then other things sound stupid, but they're not. They sound stupid because they're not stupid. The other thing is they sound stupid because it is stupid. Those two things is what man can't discern the difference. It looks the same in his mind, in his eyes, in his heart. Adam and Eve look and they behold one tree, not two things. Where's the good? You can have all that you want from this tree, but what are they going to? That tree of which not to go to, through which man must learn. And it is all part of the plan. Nevertheless, this is teaching that man breaks the command and is drawn into corruption and sin, and it has to sell itself to be deceiving, whether 1% or 100 on a scale. It doesn't matter. That 1% sell is the same sin as the 100. Just being a lesser number doesn't change that it's the same identical wicked sin and breaking of the commandment. Oh, it's not breaking the commandment because it's lesser than something else. It's not breaking the commandment. Is that a question someone can ask to somebody? So you're saying it's not breaking the commandment. This lie was smaller than another lie. So it's not breaking, you shall not lie. When truth is spoken, the enemy can't speak back because his word is literally perfect and never contradicts spiritually, which is the only reality. All day long, it can sound like it contradicts. That means someone doesn't have any understanding about that thing because it doesn't actually contradict. What are they going to say? Yes or no? They're trapped by the truth, as Messiah did to them, because he spoke out of truth. He didn't try to trap them. Did it look like it? Yes, it did look like he was doing evil and trying to trap them and make them look bad, make that image look bad. That's what it's about. It's about that image. That's what matters to people. So making someone's image look bad is all they can know. It's all they ever experience. It's all they do themselves. It's all others do to them constantly, all the time. Then it acts like it doesn't do that to others, that it does all the time. It blames someone else for it. It's what it does. Yes, it does. Adam and Eve did the same, as they can only acknowledge with their mouth, not with their heart, that they did eat from that tree and did eat. After, in their heart, they blamed someone else for it. Then they can say the words. That goes back to just right before earlier. Someone can go, blah, 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 but did they do that work in the heart? Did they really ask for something? And to continue that, to say what that is fully. What is it if they didn't ask? Even though they literally asked, give me this, I'm asking for this, I'm commanding it. If they didn't do the truth, what did they do? They did it only so that they say they did it. They did it so that they can say they did it. That's a God in its own mind. It determines what it is real. How does it know what's real? It's no God. It's no Elohim. It did it so that they can say to the other person that they did it, just so they can say they did it in pride. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Not at all. And this is the same thing. Adam and Eve did not repent for real. Did they look like it? Absolutely. Absolutely. The devil looks like it all the time. Look at me. I'm fake crying. I'm working myself up a sorcery, thinking about things that literally make me sad because I'm in a lot of death and pain and misery from sin, and channeling that as tears for what I'm selling, which is not about all that I'm gonna not tell you about why I'm really crying and how I'm able to get those tears out. Or I'm just so angry I'm crying and I'll sell it to you as something else. I hate you so much that I'm crying. People think this doesn't happen all the time when someone's in trouble, because like the world even says, what is that phrase? Now I'm probably going to be able to think of the simple phrase. Desperation. Desperate. What do we need for desperate times? It requires desperate measures. So yeah, some of these times will be more desperate, but it's being done. So the sorcery is getting someone to believe that the reason why they're crying is the image they're selling for why, but they're not, and they won't tell you the real reason. That's sorcery, that's channeling. The world uses the word all the time. It doesn't know what it's speaking of. It's just speaking out of its delusional heart. It's just speaking out of the thoughts and imaginations of its own heart, like a child. I think it's almost done here, this chapter. Let's see. Okay. Nor was any deceit found in his mouth. Yet it pleased Yehovah to bruise him. That doesn't sound good. Sounds like he's evil. The Father, that is, because it pleased him to be bruised in this kind of brutal way from man doing all this to him. Oh, that is enmity right there. Might as well put enmity on the screen. Just giant enmity. Black letters in red background or red letters in black background. Blood and darkness for evil. And that's something a believer is going to wrestle, just like Jacob wrestled with that messenger of Yehovah. And then he said he wrestled with Elohim. But this is the reality of those words, not the picture, carnal, the outward. All of Jacob, which is also called all of Israel, called Jacob, used in that way many times because the Father knows what he's doing. Jacob is also all of his people, all of them. All of Jacob will wrestle with the Creator. With what? The battle between their enmity and their darkness versus him and his light and his goodness and what's true. It's disgusted by the truth. Now that has to get worked out. It's going to be a war. And I know that's true. It's like happening every day. Yeah, these aren't easy words to just read and say. It's living these words. That's hard to hear this. It pleased Yehovah to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, isn't this what the church world says? The sin, that he died for the sins of the world, sin offering? Isn't this what they say at least? Oh, but when the truth is spoken for what it really means, better watch out, better duck. He shall see his seed. Who's he again? Well, Messiah. When you make, you the Father, make his Messiah soul an offering for sin, he, Messiah, shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days. And the pleasure of Yehovah shall prosper in his Messiah's hand. It's the Father's pleasure to work out this amazing good through a lot of evil and suffering. But what it produces is incredibly good, of which without all that suffering and evil to overcome and see and do, not to do the evil, but to overcome it. There is nothing that would be the same as this. It wouldn't be that shiny gold at the end, refined in the fire 7 times, if it wasn't through all this. That's what makes it special, real, sincere, valuable, highly valuable, like a gem. but way more valuable than literal gems. We read both things because it needs to be discerned when his word is comparing something that's real and valuable with gems, so we have a comparison. And when he just flat out says it's not gems, those are two separate things. So both are true. It's like gems, but they're not gems. It's way greater than that. It's just something like gems, something that's rare and valuable that man sees and goes, woo, and his eyes cross, and now I got to kill you. Sorry, got to go. Got to kill you because I got this valuable thing. And the more valuable things I see, the more evil I become. Isn't that strange? I got to kill you now. Oh, big jackpot of money. I got to kill you. Sorry. I'm glad that I used you guys. Thanks for getting me to this point. But I'm going to kill you now so I could take it all for myself. Done. Kills his so-called buddies, right? Laughing together, drinking together, funny stories, jokes together. But in the end, that person's going to murder them. Is that a friend or is that a deceiver looking like a friend? There's a big difference. It's the difference between light and darkness. That's what makes it deceiving. That's how someone can get someone to do something and get them somewhere for their own gain, is through being deceiving. Otherwise, they would not be able to pull it off the same way. That's how you hide in this world so you don't get caught. They're caught the very moment that thought's conceived. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. But in truth, the Father sees it, and man is being judged, or woman being judged. There's no escaping his judgment. I can't escape. I think I've tried to some degree. There's no escape. There's only two ways, and someone's going one of the two ways. There's no like outside of the kingdom into some unknown world. It's either people are entering the kingdom or they're not. Or they're in this world that's in and of the world outside of the kingdom, or they're in the kingdom. That's what I mean. There's no third place, outer space or something. Pitch blackness and darkness forever, as they so-called say. Well, they do say that, but they say that so-called. What do they know? So this is what it is. That enmity all the way from the beginning between light and darkness, that means there's a real enmity. That means they're never going to be in agreement. That means one is saying you're this and the other is saying you're that. They're both saying the same things because one is truth and one is the devil masquerading as truth, desperately shaking inside, hiding through the works of lying and saying, you're this, I know you're this. The reason why, the intention why a liar does this is because they're cowards hiding in the dark. So desperately have to masquerade like truth. Already know how to say all the right words and perfect words. Already knows how, because it takes nothing to do that. It takes no wisdom to do that. It's already natural coming out of what man's heart is. It takes nothing. And the other is speaking out of truth for truth's sake, out of a good intention heart, out of the good heart that's from above. Because that person, that believer, man or woman, believes what they're saying. They know it's true, and they're being commended by the Father and speak through the Father and Messiah, knowing that what they say is true. And the reason why they're saying it has nothing to do with the other one looking just like it. Nothing in common, zero. What has light in common with darkness? Turn a flashlight on and what darkness? Where did that literal darkness go that was there, now it's gone? It's gone. It's a coward. Light has never budged from darkness. This has never happened in truth, in reality. True light doesn't move back from darkness. Darkness pushes back, and the enemies are conquered. Do they want 1,000 scriptures about what the Father will do if we keep his commandments? to do his will and not our own way, what he'll do to our enemies? Are we supposed to take pleasure when we see some of this fulfilled for judgment and bad things happen? No. In fact, it's wicked. In fact, the Father will judge a believer for getting excited in the heart because of destruction. Now you're going to pay, says the Father, to the believer. Even a true believer will have to pay for that sin. It's going to be some kind of judgment, however he works it out with someone, for taking pleasure in the judgment, needing to want that judgment and not revenge, but then when it happens, needing to be perfect again. And just see it for what it is and somehow be neutral in the heart and say, this is righteous judgment. And in a way, someone can be satisfied. At the same time, with taking no pleasure in it, meaning the heart really didn't want to see out of intent destruction, but it's necessary. Such a massive difference. There's no difference to the enemy. It's stupid to them because they don't see anything. It's just invisible, worthless nothingness. They have to prove it carnally. And the moment someone has to prove it carnally with an image, it's already a lie because of the nature of what the image of the beast is and what man's heart is. It will have to be some kind of lie and evil from the heart. So we read it, pleased Yehovah to bruise him. He has put him to grief. The beginning of this verse. 53 and 10, that adds 5 and 3 plus 1 is 9, death. It pleased Yehovah to put Messiah to this bruising, this death, to put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, 9, I just seen this. 5, 3, and 1 is 9, 0 is nothing. 9 is that death. That Messiah died to death, reversing man, 6, and man's darkness that he is in sin, and putting it to death. 9, reversing the 6, inverting it. And then the 9 just disappears. Death itself goes away, like we read in Revelation. And that's how death is conquered. How? With life taking over. Light comes and the darkness and death goes away. All of it. I mean, this is the perfect thing. This is what the Father did through Messiah for man. That's being worked out right now. It's not finished. And yet Messiah's work is finished. He did everything required for this to begin. The beginning of the creation. Now, it has to be finished in every believer's life. It has to be finished in every unbeliever's life at some point in the ages to come. They need to know. Because how many times do we read? Then they will know I am Yehovah. Interesting. There's something to that. That's not what it seems or sounds or looks like when we read that. But then we read in the beginning, it pleased. But you make his soul an offering, for he, Messiah, shall see his seed, the spiritual seed, the true believers that believe in Messiah, as he said, those that would believe afterwards. And they're his friends also, we read. Not just servants, but friends. And friend means something when it's the Father's truth speaking. It means nothing in this world. What friend means, true friend is invaluable. It's like a gem that you would throw away in the garbage if you had to trade it. Or if I have to get rid of this gem, it's worth millions of dollars, throw it in the mud instantly without thinking about it to get a true friend. The longer someone thinks about it, the worse it's going to get. You have to do what's right and cut off that wickedness right away. And the pleasure of Yehovah shall prosper. Pleasure again, please. The pleasure of Yehovah. What will prosper? Death? No, life will prosper. In contrast, because of death, life can prosper. Pleasure of Yehovah shall prosper in his hand. Through death, overcoming death, rising again even from the dead is an incredible conquering Nothing can be compared to it, but what it's meaning for our heart is what he wants his people to know. It's not as if that's not true and that's a lie or something. It's just that's literally overcoming death. That is amazing, huge, but it's what that means in the heart to overcome death. That's the value to the Father. That's what his word is meaning. That's the highest things, of which we even read there would be no hope if this second thing. That's a first thing, but second compared to the spiritual things. There wouldn't even be any hope if that wasn't true. And we read we'd be most pitied, to be most pitied by people, most miserable or something like that. If only in this life we had hope. But nevertheless, the real important thing is what this is meaning. So Messiah overcame the world, he said. What does that mean? It means a lot. It means a huge thing. It's huge. It doesn't just mean he overcame the literal death. It means a lot more than that. It means a whole lot more than that. And he's also saying that with the intent and teaching that you can overcome. That's why he's saying it also. He's saying it because you will overcome. Saying it for that reason too. It's always more than one thing, isn't it? It's because his word is deep, but bringing out individual things of the oneness that it is. So that we overcome. He's saying that because I overcame. See, I'm telling you, he's saying, because I overcame, it's possible. Don't fear, don't worry. And that bad fear that has to be overcome, not the true fear needed to overcome, but overcoming the cowardly fear for everyone going to that lake of fire that never overcomes that. That cowardly fear comes from the pit of the devil, and it comes from the darkness that is man without the Creator's light. That fear is a command not to fear. Well, that's not an easy thing to overcome. Especially, it can't be done in one day, but nevertheless, that's the perfect command, and it's possible. And the Father didn't make it literally impossible, or he would be a liar. He'd be a fool, but he proved it through Messiah that it's possible. But this will never be proof to those that don't believe, to the enemy. Once again, because they require sight. That, by the very definition, is no longer faith. It's a problem with the Father. He doesn't do anything. Nope. He has to show everyone he's a righteous judge so that people know that and believe that, because they will have seen the proof and the works. Their own life is a testimony. He's a righteous judge. He does not allow sin to happen, meaning he doesn't bless it. It does not stand. It's going to be a judgment, a cursing, a disaster. But it looks like Messiah is under the disaster judgment. See, that's what the wicked soul we read above earlier. Because it looks like it. They don't know what's really happening at all. They don't see it. They will not believe you. And Messiah said they won't. They hated me. They will hate you. They kept their promises on me. They'll keep their promises on you. If they did this to the master, you better be sure they're going to do it to everyone below the master. Because no one is greater than his master. But you can have masters all day long. It's to be ashamed of the true Messiah, but not ashamed in false messiahs. They have no shame, we read. My people have no shame. Where is their shame concerning the true shame, working out for good, for truth? Where is it? A Buddha master, Kundalini spirit master, wickedness. Masquerading as the truth, lying to people, something that cannot give them any life, any truth, cannot make them overcome sin at all. What's the image say? What's the lie say? And get people to believe that it does. You can fly, baby, fly. You could be whatever you want. You could be whatever God here. See, I'll prove it. You can be anything, oops, I misspelled you. You want to be. There we go. Now there is something wrong with this. And this happened to work out for an example, I guess, that just came to mind. Oh, try to make it steadier here. There's something wrong with this. What is it? If you asked this to any person in the world that's in and of the world, including Christianity and religion, and you gave them this right here with this spelling, and you said, is there anything wrong with this? What would they say? What would they see? What would they hear? Only on the outward, only the image. That's it. In truth, the heart can't do any better than that. That's not of him. It just can't do what this really means. I mean, do the opposite of this in truth. Meaning you can't just be anything you want to be. It's a lie. That's the problem with it. You say that way before you say it's spelled wrong. It's backwards what this world is. What is the spelling, literally, compared to what that is in the heart and how evil that is and how prideful that is? What on earth is a spelling error? Especially, even if it was done on purpose. Well, that's a heart problem more than the literal spelling. Especially if it wasn't even done on purpose. To put that's the first thing someone sees. It's what these words are, what they mean is what's a lie and huge and important. You can be anything you want to be because it's the intent for why it's said out of rebellion, out of pride is why it's saying it's not speaking in truth at all. That is the exact opposite of the Father's truth consistently and everywhere. You can be, the whole point is you can't be anything and I'll prove it to you, is what he's saying. Because the judgment proves it. Someone being utterly destroyed within proves that they can't just be whatever they want to be. The proof isn't even proof to the carnal man. He's so blind and lost. The proof isn't proof because then that would be truth. So it creates its own definition of proof. Look at my money. I could be whatever I want to be. You liar. What are you, stupid? It's gonna masquerade the truth. When the truth would say to it, are you a fool? Are you stupid? You think you can actually be what you want to be? And then that liar will say, are you stupid? Can't you see I got the proof and here's my money. Look at my fame. See, they will never be in agreement. The person who teaches that those two things can be in agreement works for their father, the devil. That's how bad and wrong that is. It's not even close. Anyone that teaches and believes from their heart and shows proof that those two things can work together is working from their father, the devil, and working out of their carnal mind that's been corrupted completely. That's what this world does all the time, is say that these many different things that are evil could be one, and it could be mixed up right with truth, no big deal. That's exactly what the Father is showing that man is and has done in an example through the Tower of Confusion, the Tower of Babel, and Babylon, really. Well, Babylon is confusion, but that tower they wanted to build, that tower has everything to do with the image of the beast. The reason why it wanted to be one is an evil, corrupt, evil, rebellious reason and intention to working out of that intention. Every stone it puts on the ground is working out of that evil. Every stone it puts down is an evil stone. Not because the stone itself is the problem or evil all by itself, cut off from everything, but because it was put down out of an evil intent. And what it's building is evil. The evil false oneness that cannot actually be one. It never will work because the Father separates through judgment. Evil. He makes one, his body, that cannot be divided. But sin, he divides as a punishment. It cannot be one. More than ever is that what this world is doing right now in many different kinds of wicked, evil ways. It's really trying to build that tower right now, spiritually, on another level. That's why it's close to crumbling and being really divided. It is divided, but there's going to be a massive thing, massive judgment that already is, has been, and will come. The closer it tries to complete its stupid capstone on the pyramid scheme, like they say openly. We are putting, they're prophets? They're speaking out of the spirit of the devil a few hundred years ago for some kind of prospering America, masquerading as prophets. But they didn't get that from the Father. They got that through foul spirits and the enemy himself. They didn't know themselves at all, but they are building blocks to what was going to be built and has been built and keeps on working for that corruption to put that capstone on the pyramid and finish it. What is that finishing to man? To destroy everyone. That's what it is. That's what they won't tell you openly, but they give you a lot of hints and signs because they pour out their folly for what they really are. Sons of the devil. That's just the truth. The firstborn of Egypt. They're some of the deadest of the dead. They're the leaders and masters of the pyramid scheme. Not just the base on the bottom. They're above everyone else. Someone by now would see that I say that as a mockery, that it's not actually true, but they believe it is. The higher someone goes, the more they have to believe everyone else is worthless, goyim, and wicked, worthless nothing, out of a condemning heart, out of a corrupt heart that's literally doing the works of condemning and rising above others. This is evil. Man calls it good. Because the higher you rise, the better you are than everyone. At sin, finish the capstone. Monster. Unleash the beast. Rock stars. Serving their star gods. Put their symbols everywhere. What is that? What are these symbols? It's the spirit of the devil working through man. It is just blindly doing its corruption and obeying the lusts of their father, the devil. That's how the connection is made. Not even that man is wise at all, because wisdom comes from the Father above. But it can look like it's wise and powerful and strong. It wants you to believe that it is mighty and strong out of an evil, cowardly heart. And they should all go watch Wizard of Oz, because that's what the image of the beast is. That's really what it is. It's pouring out the Father's truth through their folly, not doing truth, not doing it with any intent for truth. It's just pouring out its folly while it thinks it's wise doing it. Because someone that deceives has to show off about their deception. They give a little bits and pieces out. That's wisdom to them. It's literal foolishness that's pouring out what's really happening and who they really are. They think it's wise to slip in a few little bit of devil's mockery, masquerading the Father's true righteous mockery out of a good intention, out of truth and good, where the devil's doing it out of spitting in someone's eye and pissing on them, out of mocking people in an evil way, that you're literally a piece of garbage dung and I am above you. That's a different mockery. That's called evil. There is a good way to mock, but it can't be just done lightly and easily by anyone. That has to be sought after to see what that is, to be able to do it, to be able to do anything that's of the Father's works. But it's possible, just not of ourselves alone. Can't do it. And he'll prove that to every believer that they can't do it. Just when you think you believe that we can't do it. Oh no, there's more. Just when you think, man, haven't I got there? Don't I really believe that I'm no good? Oh no, there's more. Man, just when I think I've gotten there, and I really believe I'm not good. there's more. All the way to the end. That's when it's there, whatever the end is. Messiah said, endure to the end, as if that didn't apply for every believer that ever lived. Endure to the end. People don't want to hear this because it's not a comfortable truth that goes along with their doctrines. That means he's speaking about the spiritual things, the true race. Go to the end in our life. Keep going to the end. Yeah, we all know what the end means. Carnally, that is, we all know what end. That's why it's not comfortable. So they want to sell their own doctrine. Nevertheless, there is an end, regardless, but that's not what it's meaning for us. There's an end to this evil, wicked age and wickedness. It's not going to keep going forever. That would torment the Creator beyond torment for it to literally do that. It would, what do we read? Maybe I'll find that verse. Give me a second. More than a second. I'm not God, Elohim Almighty. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. No, it's not this, but nevertheless, Psalm 119:28, my soul weeps because of grief. Raise me up according to your word. Raise me, my soul melts with sorrow. It's not exactly what I was looking for right now. If you faint, it's not the verse still. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Proverbs. Deliver those who are drawn toward death, and hold back those stumbling to the slaughter. People are drawn to it. It's like a magnet. It draws people in, pulls them in. They sing about it all the time. You would think that looks righteous. It makes them look righteous. They're doing evil. They're pouring out their folly. They are not doing what they're selling they're doing. They sell that they're overcoming. They sell that that's all behind them. Next thing you know, they're not even alive next week. And somebody else just died that was connected to a popular Elvis. It's never what the image of the beast is selling. They're all liars. Every one of them that's in that kind of deep sin is in destruction. All of them. There's nothing to look up to that, to what that is, what they sell and what Hollywood sells. If someone wants that, they want death. They want the death that those people are in. And it gets worse. Better to be in less death than more if someone won't believe. If someone doesn't believe, better not to literally murder someone than murder someone. It's like the least instruction someone that will never believe can follow is don't seek more. Just keep doing what you're doing if that's what's going to happen. Don't increase, but can someone stop themselves from not, increasing in evil? Don't think that's a good idea. Whatever you think right now, it's going to get a lot worse if you do the worst thing. Because he's a righteous judge, which also means there's hope that if we do what's right, he can make it better than anyone could ever imagine and think. Does that do away all the difficulty? No. No, it doesn't. Nevertheless, both things are true. Do not lie in wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Do not plunder his resting place. What is the resting place? isn't it? To believe in the Father's truth through Messiah. He is the master of the Sabbath rest, the Sabbath. How does someone plunder? How does someone's works, what they try to do, what does that look like? To plunder the resting place of the righteous. Do not plunder. It's to try to destroy their faith. That's all it takes, because that's all it's standing on is the Father's faith and grace given, which is everything. But it's to bring out that that's everything and that's all it is. And yet that all is everything. That's all it is. Not in a way that you would normally hear or be used in this world when something like is saying not. That's all that it is. That means that that's all. Literally, that is all that it is. It's not to make it small. It's to actually do the opposite, make it everything. That's all, but that's all literally though. That's all. That's all. It's everything. That's how that's being used right now. For a righteous man may fall 7 times and rise again, but the wicked shall fall by calamity. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and do not let your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the master see it and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him. Not only is it a sin for us to do what this means and take pleasure, a glad heart for evil. It's a specific thing, very specific. We won't even see he turns away his wrath from him. There's no reward. There's no reward, but then there's no how it would have normally been if we did what's right. That judgment would have came down like fiery wrath if we did what's right on the person. As soon as we take some revenge, this fiery wrath starts shrinking away. The perfect thing only can be done perfectly when the perfect work is done. Do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of the wicked. It's a command. It's nothing to envy. Well, there's a lot to envy in falsehood, but in truth, don't envy is what we're told. In truth, there is nothing to envy, but that has to be worked out. And if it never is, then someone will envy forever. And how could that be a believer that never overcomes envying? Just envies everything as it did and even getting worse and worse. So this is a command for believers. For there will be no prospect for the evil man. That means within their heart and their mind. They could say whatever they want. It's as easy to say, I'm God. I'm not a white person. I'm black. I'm this. I'm that. It's easy to lie and say whatever you want. But this is about truth, not stupid words all by themselves, coming from foolish heart. Not that his words are stupid even. For there will be no prospect for the evil man. Prospect, that's, this is what he's speaking of the truth. Once again, they could say they have prospect, but they don't. And only the thing that's real matters, doesn't it? What kind of value, what's real about fake? Nothing. It's nothing. People lie all the time. Oh, this didn't, because they're embarrassed or whatever. And they say, this is what I did, or this is what I didn't do, but they did. And then they convince themselves in front of the crowd because they're sweating bullets because of needing to sell the image, because they hate truth that much. They can't do truth. Otherwise, I'll be all, murdered by everyone. Those are some nice friends that would murder you for truth. Everyone's going to come at you and rape you and murder you and kill you for speaking the truth. I better not do that. That's truth over there. I'm afraid over there. That's truth. That's what everyone is first. That's what we have to be worked out of, that great corrupt evil. A believer will be tested whether they stand for the truth or not in real life with real tests. That means there will be witnesses around for real and not in theory only. Theory is like for meditating on his word all by yourself, then now the reality of that belief, but it's not a theory in a bad way, comes to play out. It works for real what those thoughts and truths were. It's like, okay, study time for his truth, and now you got to go do it. Those are two different things. Now I have to go do it. Two different things. Because it's easy to just talk. It's what the false prophets do. They talk a lot. Snake mouth, it's big, 3 times bigger than it's wide for its head. Plus or minus some. Someone takes that literally, and then the argument starts about how big a snake's mouth is compared to the width of its head. Has anyone ever thought that there is no answer to these kind of things and arguments and straining at gnats because there's not supposed to be? Has anyone ever conceived that thought? That it's not supposed to be, because that very work of arguing about that is stupid and evil. Therefore, it deserves stupid and evil as a punishment, confusion. 5 million people saying different things, each one right and better in its own mind about how big a snake's mouth is. It's 2.5, it's 2.8, you're a liar, but this type of snake, it's blah, blah. You just go on and on, straining at gnats. Because that way. What's the answer? To stay away from it, to not even go in there. Don't even start. Don't even start. If it's that carnal, real carnally juicy carnality, to stay away from it completely, because it'll draw someone in. It wants you. It wants me. It tries to draw me and draw everyone in. We're supposed to just cut it off, cut the snake's head off. Actually, that's how that example is going to be finished. Just cut that snake's head right off. That finishes the problem. Can't do any bad now. Come on, snake, what do you got? And its head is cut off. Bring it on now. I cut your head off, and I crushed it with my foot, the sole of my foot, my boot. Just like Messiah said that. Just like the Father said Messiah would do in all his people after that prophecy that is working, because Messiah crushed evil under him by doing good. That's what we read. Overcome evil. How? When you think of conquering victory, it's always evil, meaning what people think of the world. It's a conquering. It's bloody. It's wicked. It's war. I defeated the crap out of that I destroyed them. It's always out of that evil heart. But no, this is actually the good now, where I smashed your head, conquered and destroyed you utterly, and burned you with fire. You're done. And it's all good. It's all about good. If that can be done in someone's heart. Now try doing that the good, true way, and see how bad everyone fails, including self. That's going to have to be worked on over and over again to do it perfectly, all the time, every time, under every test. Because that's normally the evil. That's always done out of evil, which is easy to do. It's as easy as river flowing down the widest, least path of least resistance. Easy. It's the easiest thing to do, is go back and be dumped with all the other fishes in the ocean, the fish of humanity that the Father is destroying and killing. 1/3, then 2/3, then all the fish are dead. We thought it was just some, then a half, then wow, it seems like it's all of 3/4 of maybe it's most people. Oh, it's all. What I thought about the first third was wrong, in that I thought that was it, but it's actually all. Through the stages, his truth becomes more real and true. It's about all. And that just has to be given to see, because you could tell an enemy this, and it doesn't mean they have this understanding because they're able to repeat the words. No, it doesn't. That literally has to grow, and that can't grow without faith at all. And it can't grow without time. But pride says it can just receive something, try me, and now it spits the words out, and now it understands. No, it doesn't. And it will not be able to do those words. It won't be able to do what it means from the heart, because that takes patience and time, which is required in the kingdom of heaven, as we read about Messiah and the patience of the kingdom of the saints and the tribulation that is the kingdom, which requires great patience. For what? For growth, to want to see it, but you want it to be there and be faster, and it's not. It's just slow. It takes a lot of patience. Patience on evil, patience on all kinds of things, because it requires severe patience not to return evil for evil. It means you have to sit there in the heart, wait, walk away and do no evil, and trust the Father will judge them, which requires more patience, because he's patient. Therefore, we won't see the judgment come back instantly. Probably most of the times, not instant, but he does judge instantly. But there is something that when someone does a real bad evil, that real full judgment, he's patient on to return it fully back on someone. But so, you know how he does this, how often, quicker, later. How should we know all these details that he knows? But we're supposed to know that he's a righteous judge and believe that he will take vengeance. That's why we read that. Do not say, I will take vengeance, I will repay, Proverbs, but vengeance is mine, I will repay, says Yehovah. Well, that must be evil. Of course it's evil to the enemy, because that's the Father's power and judgment repaying their wickedness. Of course that's evil to the devil. You bet that's evil to the enemies. Anything that's against them is evil. Test that and see if it isn't so. No matter what, if it's against them, it's evil. Done. There's no discernment. There's no separating. There's no good. It's full partiality. It's partial for itself. That's what to test. If it's against itself in any way, shape, or form, no one will accept that or take it or like teach it. But they can look like it if they have to choose a lesser of a few evils. That's a situation someone can look and sell righteousness, that they do take some, but the other thing on the other side they're not telling anyone is way worse, or so they think, and way more shame to their image. I won't say anything. I'll take the lesser thing and act like I'm apologizing and this and that and sell the truth again, the image of truth, the image of the beast, which sells the truth as an image that it's doing it, and it's not in the heart at all. That's selling the truth in that kind of way. We cannot buy and sell the truth. We read not to. Buy the truth and do not sell it. In Proverbs, buy the truth and do not sell it. How do we buy it? Not from the carnal, wicked heart marketplace of man, but buying it is getting it from the Father, asking for it and getting it freely. That is the buying. It's no cost. His truth doesn't, $50 for this truth. That'll be $90 for this truth because it has more mechanics in it and it does more interesting things. Cha-ching. $500 for this truth. He freely gives. But that's how we buy the truth from him, because the Father's buying is not the wicked world's buying. And then do not sell it. Give it freely. We read elsewhere Messiah's very words. As you were given freely, freely give back. Freely given, freely give. He gave it to you freely. Don't sell it. Don't charge. Spiritually, carnally, in any way, shape, and form. Means don't sell. We don't read anywhere sell it. Where's the contradiction? In reality, where is it? That can be a challenge because his word never fails and cannot contradict. If someone thinks there's something that contradicts and someone sees the truth, it will be explained to them and they won't be able to resist it, and they can test these words. They can test it. Watch people walk away unable to answer in reality. but they might leave you with a bunch of accusations and name calling. They're going to leave thinking they won, because it's always a game to people. But if someone's not being partial and they're looking at both sides, they'll see that his truth can't be resisted in reality. You have to walk away in a delusion to think it can't be. There's an answer for everything. And if we don't have the answer in that moment, then the only truth is, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that if that's the only truth in that moment. It's a problem in this world to say, I don't know, though. Can't be truthful. People get stunned when I don't know, or the answer they're looking for isn't what they thought it would be, what someone would make up real clear, and you're just being truthful. And they look at you like you're from a different planet. Yeah, because we live on a planet, a globe that's spinning hundreds and thousands of miles per hour, traveling around the sun we worship. It's huge, it's ginormous, it's far away and big. That's how we sell that lie. Instead of being close and small, we just make it look like the true, change a few details, give you giant numbers, which is always a bad sign. Giant numbers that no one is going to touch or want to comprehend because it can't be comprehended. That's why it's done. What does it do? Makes it look like the one selling it comprehends it. Otherwise, why would they say such a big number? They just spit it out. They have no clue what that means. Ask any one of them. I challenge anyone that doesn't believe truth to find out they know absolutely nothing. Catch them off guard. Yeah, do that, since evil's going to do evil anyways. Go at least test the truth while you do evil and see if his word isn't true. Watch them come up with nothing except confusion, and watch them lie to you. Watch them twist the truth. And someone's going to want to side with that, side with the liar that's lying to you. You know, be in agreement, be okay with it in the heart. Act like that's good. Worship the person's image and say, wow, but you're really lying, and it's not wow. Because anybody lying to someone like that does not care about you and does not love you at all. It's not even possible. Father doesn't bless wickedness. You can have love now because you do murder and lie. No, not possible. Zero. What's the image sell? That's what it sells, actually. Oh! But see, even with the image of the beast, which is man, there's nothing wrong with the literal image here with two hands going up. It's not about that. But why is someone doing what they're doing? Plus, the point of the image of the beast is to show a literal image. Pictures, you know, it can be helpful to connect things. Literal images, even though these aren't exactly the most choice pictures here, but I'm not wanting to try to do that. Any image could be used, anything, to bring something out. Like, it doesn't matter what image it is. They're all a little different covers. Yeah, see, writing notes and stuff. If that's being done through the Father Spirit, then that's good. If it's not, then it's evil. Then it's just pride writing stuff down that it doesn't even understand. If it's through his will always, no matter what it is, something that's truly through his will is not evil ever. So if it's through his will, then it's good. If someone's going, why are you blaming me? Which I've done, but like saying, what's wrong with you? You're wicked. I didn't do anything. Are you saying I sinned? I don't sin. You got to believe me. Please believe me. I'm telling the truth. And he starts crying. See, that's masquerading. That's not truth. It's masquerading something that truth would do in truth. But this is an evil heart that's backwards. It's only looking like it. Those tears are tears of lying and deceit. They're not true tears. There's nothing wrong with tears by itself, but it could be through evil or good. How easy is it for someone to say they are good? Oh, it's through good. That easy. Of course it's easy. But anyone that believes in the Father should be knowing that they're going to pay for that lie. That's not something someone should do lightly, is just, well, I'm just going to blatantly lie, and say, yeah, it was good. You're going to have to repent for that. You're going to have to be corrected for that. Because he gives a caring heart. The wicked don't care yet. They don't care that they do evil. That's why it keeps doing it. What happens when you do care, but you're finding out you're not perfected? You screw up again. It's a tribulation. Requires tons of patience and even more prayer, not less, to walk away. It's slow growth, and it takes patience, have to keep going. And the change will come, but it's never going to just be like, boom, wow, that's huge. You have to look back, and next thing you know, something is different about the heart. Something has been improved better. But it took a while, and it never just hit all at once. Boom, I'm just a new, And yet we are supposed to be made new continually, and will be. He works little by little, like a plant that's growing. It doesn't just boom, that's it. It started as a seed, boom, now it's a tree. Plus, what kind of growing pains would that be? Impossibility. We wouldn't be able to handle it, his truth, given all at once. Nobody would. No one, not even one. Messiah taught this teaching. I have a lot more to say to you, but you cannot bear it now. But when the Spirit of truth comes, then he will give and reveal truth, all truth. The set-apart Spirit will give all truth, give you all truth. When that set-apart Spirit, Holy Spirit, comes, which is the Father's Spirit, himself is the gift of faith. That is something that someone never had first. Otherwise, what on earth does it mean when the Spirit comes? Or when someone really believes? That's something someone never had before they did. But the enemy will masquerade to the bitter end about everything, just to be expected, or rather not to expect anything else, and not expect that which is evil to really do true good, because that's foolish to expect that from the heart and put that on someone, which is the heavy yoke and burdens that people love putting on each other everywhere, but they don't lift the finger of them for one of the commandments for themselves. They don't have a finger on it. They're not doing it. They're not learning. They're not suffering anything for Messiah's name's sake to do that good they speak of. Because if they were doing it, they would be suffering for doing it. Because of what the world is, what it will do to someone doing the Father's works. It's going to do that evil, punish you in this way. Because it's at war against the Creator, and there is nothing to do with Baal, whatever, Lord of the Flies and demons, with Yehovah, with the Father. They don't have anything in common. And that's why the apostle said about not being joined one with the harlot in the flesh, but his people one in the spirit. Whatever someone is joined to and truly one with, they already are that and are becoming it. They think they're not, they're becoming it. That's why we read not to be one. Because the Father, that's his truth. Not only will it happen, he won't protect anyone. So if someone's doing that out of sin, being one with what they shouldn't be, The punishment is you will be one with it. You'll get exactly what you think you want. You want to be one with that so bad, you will. How simple is that? And yet somehow the natural man can't think this, doesn't understand this. If he understood, then he wouldn't be being one with it. So the works prove that he doesn't understand, not his mouth. He just says, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? It's like being in a swimming pool and saying, what are you talking about? I'm not wet. It's literally like that, foolish spiritually. No, I'm not in a pool because I created a delusion and a loophole and a justifier, and through a different way I'm going through here. I'm not actually in a pool. I'm in a something rather. I'm in a car because I say I am. So God-man thinks because he speaks, therefore it is. Literally thinks that. And Messiah is no God-man. The greatest blasphemy, the rebellion in truth, all of rebellion is through wanting to be Elohim Almighty in the heart. So the God-man is a blasphemy. And the enemy can't love this truth. It can only look like it loves it if you're not doing truth to it. It cannot love actual truth, and it cannot be one with the truth if it's of the enemy in reality. They will have to hate that Messiah is not God-man. And how about Isaiah 53? How many times does someone have to hear or read something to at least start going, questioning it, at least to question this truth from their heart to the Father about something? How much will it take? But there's answers for everything, and I see that the many don't want them really. They don't want to do that. They just want to believe whatever it's stuck on, and people have lied and said it is, wants to stay with that, and not ever actually test it and be without partiality, not going to the left or right, but testing it and see what the truth is, which is the only thing the Father can do, is lead us to whatever the truth is, which requires patience. That means we won't be led to any specific truth in one day, or it could be, but not going to be like that with most things in one day. And someone will be rewarded if they wait with belief. They'll be given understanding, and when that understanding is given, there's nothing in the world that can take it, can just snatch it from anyone. There's no robbers and thieves in the kingdom of heaven. There's no moth where it rusts and corrupts in heaven, because he's perfect from above. But on earth, yes, that's robbers and thieves everywhere. Corruption and rust everywhere. There's no corruption and rust in heaven. Wherever someone's treasure is, that's where their heart is also, we read. Their heart, their whole being, their thoughts, their intentions, their works, everything that comes from the heart is also where their treasure is. What do they treasure? Well, if it's money, gold, which is, usually underground, not floating in the air, then their heart is under the dirt. And everything else is just made up by man getting more superficial and fake, an image of the beastly as the days go by, with money now becoming, not as if it happened in one day, it's happening over time, but becoming now something that you can't even see or touch. It's masquerading that it's got the money that's of the kingdom of heaven, because only that you can't see and touch with the natural eyes and natural hands. It's lying. It's taking the earthly things and selling it as heavenly, and the heavenly things selling it as if it's garbage under the earth. It's taking what money is naturally and corrupted that too, to be a liar. Valuable gems, things, gold, money, according to natural truth that has always been, the Father created. But now they're mixing, selling it as something it's not, raising it up to the heavens with power in the digital world, which is all what it's about, is power. It's just another trick and another way for someone to control and rape more people. That's it. That's why it exists. They can, it's because it does this and because that. You could do this with your credit card now and you could do that. Yeah, true. That's not why it's being done. That's the sell. That's the sell. It's being done because uncontrollable rapists in the devil's kingdoms, uncontrollable lust for murder, revenge, control, such severe control, insecure beyond all measure, desperately needing to control and commend itself and be commended, and then hate those who commend it. Doesn't get dumber than that and more evil. That's why it's being done. Control. More. Even the devil knows that, because we hear it in this world, in the open too. It's control, It's real bad when the devil pours out that his own stuff is bad. Not really. It's just a delusion. Of course, they believe they're mighty gods and kings and righteous and good, not in reality, but in delusion, pouring out their folly and confusion and things that literally don't make sense. And these other things will sell. They will. And people will believe that's the reasons. They will believe it. They already do. But they will. It's coming. A nasty thing, getting nastier and nastier in its own ways. How obvious and desperate is that, to separate what money is on earth and make it into invisible nothingness, controlled by someone's finger, the button, digital. You could do whatever you want with that, make up whatever you want. Why don't they just say the whole world's not in debt and cancel its own debt? It's God, after all, can cancel its debts. It can be forgiven all its debts from its own self and cover itself. Maybe that is one of the last coverings man will do before he destroys himself utterly and is destroyed, and this wicked world destroyed. Maybe it's going to do that right before it goes and blows up, is actually forgive itself and say, we are canceling all of the world's debts. We love you so freaking much. We love you so much, we just canceled all your debt. Oh, but here's the price. Your head's coming off. You're done. Yeah, right, as if the devil can do any good with the heart. Forgiveness, love, nothing. It's a lie. And whenever they say peace, the more strongly they sell it, the closer it is to being destroyed. It's how backwards and in delusion it is, severe, frighteningly bad. People say peace in this world, they mean destruction, because they speak in their delusion. Whatever they're thinking, it's not that. It's in rebellion, and it hates what true peace is. It will look at Messiah and say, oh, this man's wicked. He's got no peace. Look at him. Because it's only judging on the outside. Then it goes around and says, out of guilt, out of sin guilt, guilty for doing this in reality. It pours out its folly and says, don't judge a book by its cover, so that it can make itself look like it doesn't do that evil itself. That's why it said, don't judge a book by its cover. It didn't say that out of truth. It only says, the devil only says that and mimics truth by the words, creating the image of truth, which is the image of the beast, because it's not real. The only intention from its real heart and its real thoughts was to cover itself like Adam and Eve and hide its nakedness and its sin, to make it look like they don't do that, which is hiding, which is covering self, and they will deny these words right here, right now, and can do nothing about it. They will deny it, and they will not be able to believe it. They can count on that. Not unless someone truly repents. Otherwise, it's not happening. They will not be able to believe and expose the very thing they're doing to cover themselves. Now they're going to admit the greater thing, the first thing, which would utterly blow their cover. They're already proving that they're desperately covering self. That's why they're doing what they're doing, to cover its sins and hide itself. It's revealing itself in reality. Just put a mirror to man. There he is. But now someone will do that to Messiah and say, there he is. Well, that's what they're going to do. They're going to say, you do the same things continually. They call good evil and evil good. They won't do anything else. That's the accusations a believer has to face. And we also have to face that sometimes the dumb enemy will be right. We have to examine self and see why maybe that's true, what that person just happens to be so. They did evil, and they said that with an evil intent, but there's something true about it, and I have to repent. That's going to happen. But I'm speaking of one thing only, one side from the enemy side. It's doing that with evil. It doesn't know whether you did anything or not spiritually because it's blind. Otherwise, Messiah wouldn't call them blind. Blind about what? But the very proofs and things that prove the works of the teaching. It cannot actually see in its heart whether what you did is sin or not sin. It cannot see a believer's works, whether they're sin or not sin. Can't see anyone else's, but this is especially true. This is specifically about someone doing good works right now. It cannot see whether that was good or evil. It's going to call it evil by default. Can't actually see because it sees the same image in its mind from someone that is doing evil, and it calls it evil and points the finger. I'm not like that guy. That guy's a wicked rapist, blah, blah, blah. Going to burn in hell for life forever and ever and ever. By my God. He's talking about himself. He's God, created that doctrine. And his father's the devil that created that doctrine. You are going to burn someone in hell forever and ever. Admit it. Whoever that is doing that out there in this world. It's you. You're God. You're the Trinity. You are the Almighty. Your doctrine. Can't admit it. Can't acknowledge it because they're in a delusion. Egypt can't acknowledge that they are the God they created, that they're talking about them. The first image of the beast makes a copy of the second image of the beast in its likeness, a beast, a golden calf, in man's likeness, a beast, and then tells everyone that that's God over there, some separate being. Tells everyone that that's not them specifically, to hide its sins. It's what religion exists for, is to hide your sins. Hide everyone's sins. How do you hide? As soon as you get someone to believe that the God they created is a separate being, that means that it won't be them. No one will look to them. They think that. And that's the heart of hiding sin. Someone think if I call someone a rapist, that's not me. Because I said, that wicked rapist, I would never do this. And now that image that's being sold, the reason why that corrupt heart did that, doesn't know what a rapist is at all. It only thinks it knows. It thinks that it just knows everything. It thinks that it doesn't need to be taught over years from the Father receiving truth. It thinks it knows already fully in its corrupt heart. It really does think it knows. That's the scary part. And then that's going to hide other people thinking this is how the thought process works. It thinks it works. It doesn't do this. And yet through deception, it does have an effect like that. But in truth, it doesn't hide anything. Father sees it completely. It doesn't change, doesn't make them righteous. It makes them the opposite of righteous for doing this, for what it thinks it makes righteous, it's making wicked. Other people won't suspect you're a rapist now because you got angry and put on the mimic, the masquerade, and put on the act that you hate this or that or this or that. It could be anything. This is happening a lot. Happens with individuals everywhere, happens with companies, corporations. Everybody's got their soul to save and protect. That's why they do everything that they do. They never do it out of love and care for anyone that buys their product, because the liar that lies and sells the lie and product to the buyer cannot love the one they're deceiving and lying to. That means their heart hates them. Cannot love means they hate with an evil hatred the one that makes them rich, because that riches is their destruction. And no one can love for real with the Father's love something that makes them more destroyed. It's a great confusion and contradiction within man's heart. It is the snake eating its tail to survive. That doesn't make sense. It's destroying itself while claiming it's saving itself. Pretty stupid. That is the judgment for all sin. He who is saving his soul shall be destroying it. He who destroys his soul for my sake shall be finding life. He who destroys his life for his sake will be finding life. Letting go, dying, denying self. But he who saves it with intent, working out of that always, shall be destroying it anyways. There's no saving. So does a man know? Why is he doing what he's doing if it's destroying him? He doesn't believe it's destroying him. He's so prideful and lost. All the proof in his face every day, every year, it's getting worse. No, I'm not wrong. I'm God. I'm not wrong. I'm God. That's what's going on in his heart. That's the beast that everyone is, that has to come out and be slashed and destroyed. Deny self, that beast. Father will destroy it while giving life and growing bit by bit. That's his way. It won't go any different for any believer. Bit by bit, piece by piece. He'll do it, but it's going to be done his way even. That's two things. And then within those two things, many things. That means if someone messes with the timing and says the first thing is true, he'll do it. But the second thing messes with the timing, they're a liar. It's already sin. It's already doing some kind of sin with the heart for real, not just talking. And if someone doesn't know, then they say, I don't know, and do no sin for saying, I don't know. When it's out of truth, when it's out of, I don't know, that very thing is not sin to say, I don't know, in truth. Of course, without the knowledge, that means we're going to be failing and sinning according to that knowledge without knowing, but without truly knowing before that. But saying I don't know is not a sin itself. It's a sin not to. And if someone says it is a sin, like they believe in all their heart, because I don't know is an abomination to man's heart, test it and see if it isn't so. Man believes I don't know is sin, period. Is he going to say those words out loud? Not likely. He believes it in his heart, and his works prove it. That can be tested. All day long it can be tested. So man's heart thinks it's a sin to say, I don't know. That's a thing against his pride, which is very bad against pride. You don't mess with pride. You worship the pride and beast, says man. You never say no to pride. That would be repentance or something. Don't go there. So false shepherds. Don't go that way. That way is of Messiah. Don't follow that person because that's the truth. I'll destroy you. Someone goes insane, man. Like they show with like movies and things like demons coming out, three faces all in one, going back to Egypt, nothing new under the sun. They're they're projecting how filled up with demons, devils, foul spirits they are. They're just projecting their father, the devil, outwardly many times. How easy is it for me or anyone else to look like a demon? Act like as if you are like insane, real bad. Anybody can act it out. Does that mean automatically, because you look like it, that that's true? And yet this truth is not registering with humanity. It's not registering. Something's wrong at the register. There's just no spirit in them to discern and love truth. They have to be born again from above to love truth. You must be born again. Messiah teaches this authoritative truth, because it's powerful and it can't be messed with and it's required. And yet, who tells themselves, I'll be born? Well, that's enmity. So somehow the Father has made a perfect way where even all his truth, as true and good as it is, and as stupid as evil is, his truth looks stupid and foolish to everyone in this world, which is a test that'll put pressure on a believer, because that's going to tempt them that, that's shameful. I don't want to look like an idiot. It's going to be shameful. Okay, but this person should know, whoever's actually ashamed in truth of Messiah, he's going to be ashamed of them. And whoever actually denies in their heart Messiah, he will deny them. Is that what people want? Their works say yes. Their mouth says no. Their heart says yes. Their mouth says no. You can't have both. It's a contradiction. Which one? Can't have two masters. That's why Messiah said that, because everyone is believing they can. It's not possible. And just because we have the one master doesn't mean, once again, we overcome all sin in one day. No, it doesn't. But growing and learning in his way is a completely different thing than thinking we can have two masters, worship the devil, worship the Father. That's insanity. That's not possible. That's two completely different things. It's like saying that someone's born, now they're unborn. Now they're born again, now they're unborn. So there is a truth and teaching and promise for his people, that is, for those that really are of him, that they'll never die, as Messiah said. Those that believe in him will never die. Those that don't, it doesn't apply. Never forsake, never leave. How close does it get? And how many times? Nevertheless, is that breaking his promise if it never happens, and if he never loses one of his people and becomes utterly destroyed, from the world and unbelief? Close doesn't mean anything to the Father. Getting close or hitting a bottom doesn't mean that he lost his people. Doesn't mean that they didn't, that they got destroyed utterly and back in full-blown unbelief, and then that's it. Doesn't mean that. Close doesn't mean anything. Because we also know that they are scarcely saved. So those bottoms do come. And that's a test that puts pressure on everything. Puts a lot of pressure on faith. It reveals self and more of what self is, that it's no good. It's a beast, it's a monster, just like all his word has been teaching since it's existed. Right in Genesis, that old serpent, that old beast, the craftiest beast of them all. Because that is what beast, that picture of what beast is, and what a beast sort of acts like, and wild, tearing flesh, is the heart. That's the perfect thing. It's a beast. It's a beastly heart. That's the problem, not anything else, not the outward, not appearance. Those are all way at the bottom compared to this, compared to the heart. And this is not good. When someone shows how righteous they are through like their image and how great they are, and maybe this isn't the perfect example on, blue letter bowing, but it is still, it's being done everywhere. It still is an example, and it's being done everywhere. But it depends on what the heart's doing. Is that what they're doing? Is that why they're doing that? That's the work. Anything else that looks like it has to be discerned for whether that is or not. Because it's about the heart's thoughts and intentions. That's what matters to the Father, not what it looks like. And if the inside is clean, the outside will be clean also. Messiah taught this because it's basically not to not have zero care, zero thought. It's a big, if the inside's clean, if that's true, the outside will become what it needs to become. Focus or worry about that so much. Focus on the real things. And that's not an excuse to sin. Because if someone sins and they look like it, what is that heart doing? Are they being cleansed inside for doing some obvious sin? So that's how snakes work, always trying to find little cracks and twist everything, reverse it, mix it. Find a little weak spot so they think. It looks weak to them, so they try to take advantage of it. Fight someone your own size, coward. Where's the mirror? Mirror, where are you, mirror? Trying to fight against the Creator, who's infinitely bigger than some weak man. Trying to fight against his truth. Hypocrite. Backwards. But it does that to others. It's done that to others. And then it condemns others of what it still does and will do next month, next 2 months, next week, next day maybe. Man can build stuff and he can make things out of wood and stone, but he can't do what it means. He can't build the real things. He can't build a spiritual house without the Father. No, he can't. But the Father allows man to look like he can so that it falls on him, so that he can utterly see the destruction and disaster that false, prideful belief was. That's why he lets him build it up to some degree, so they can see it fall and utterly prove that his way is righteous and no other way works and is evil besides his way. That would seem evil to someone, I know. Even whatever looks like it's being built up, when it looks like it, they really think they are building it, he allows them to be deceived and think that because their pride has increased, so he allows them to build a little more so that they really believe that what they do, why they do, everything about them is working, and then it collapses. so they can see the collapse too and be utterly dismayed, utterly vanquished, conquered. Not good, but this is the judgment, you know. We read curses. Are curses good? So curses for sin and evil, blessings for good and truth. Who cares? Basically, in the world, it's a question. It's a real, literal question. Who cares? Isn't that twisted too? The way that's used. It's like not even used according to like what it literally means. Is it even a question or more of a saying that you just spit out when, like, I don't know, it's got a little connection, but I remember doing a lot of those kinds of things and never thinking about it. It's just something you blot out, you know, and start thinking about everything you say more and more in truth. Say, wow, that was corrupt. Like blind, didn't even think about what I said in any kind of truth and see anything about it. But that would be maybe a smaller thing, but the small things are included in all things. And big things don't come unless they're built up first. House doesn't stand unless the foundation and smaller pieces are all in place and put together. And man can talk about that with a literal house, can't he? He could talk about that all day long. But what about the spiritual house? What about the truth? What about what it means? And whether they're doing that. What do we got here? Oh, there it is. I just scrolled down a little bit. There's the beast. This is man. This is who and what everyone is. Poor beast that needs the Father's grace. And the beast is going to be destroyed, so might as well escape this beast. In that, the beast has to die to what it is, and it has to believe that Father will give it life. Basically, another new life, because itself has to go. That's a lot of faith that it requires. Where do we find the gospel in the book of Daniel? Oh, okay, I see what they making a connection with the beast and Daniel. Nice words, nice images, forgiveness, strength, love, inspirational, encouraging, Bible verses for faith in hard times, God's promises, comforting Bible verses, worry and anxiety. See, this can all be a damnable trick and never have what these things really are and mean if someone's not seeking the Creator with all their heart, soul, strength, and mind for real. Then this just becomes an image of the beast. Then all these things that could be and should be through truth never become, but someone makes themselves look like it, and that's an empty shell, like a zombie, basically, the living dead. Messiah says, let the dead bury the dead. You come follow me. Someone shouldn't strive for the image, but for what this means in the heart and receiving these things in the heart, and not strive for the image of what it is, you know, an empty shell. So many times it has to be discerned. It's not even that there's anything wrong with many of these things or words by themselves. It's not that. It's not the point. I think I'm going to wrap it up. I think that might be it. Well, just do what I did last time, I guess, and see what the finger points to randomly. Now, what looks to be random. Okay. Somewhere in 2 Kings. One of his servants answered and said, "Please let several men take 5 of the remaining horses which are left in the city. Look, they may enter, or they may either become like all the multitude of Israel that are left in it, or indeed, I say, they may become like all the multitude of Israel left from those who are consumed. So let us send them and see." Therefore they took 2 chariots with horses, and the king sent them in the direction of the Syrian army, saying, "Go and see." And they went after them to the Jordan. And indeed all the road was full of garments and weapons, which the Syrians had thrown away in their haste. So the messengers returned and told the king. And the people went out and plundered the tents of the Syrians. So see, a fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2, however that's pronounced, sizes of barley for a shekel, according to the word of Yehovah. Now the king had appointed the officer of whose hand he leaned to have charge of the gate, but the people trampled him in the gate, and he died. Is there anything new under the sun? Trampled him to death, just as the man of Elohim had said, who spoke when the king came down to him. So it happened, just as the man of Elohim had spoken to the king, saying, and this again, the barley for a shekel, and a seah of fine flour for a shekel shall be sold tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. Then the officer had answered the man of Elohim and said, Then that officer had answered the man of Elohim and said, Now look, if Yehovah would make windows in heaven, could such a thing be? Is there anything new under the sun? Someone shouldn't think they're wise and came up with some clever thing that they have thought of that nobody else has ever thought of or done. Can the Creator make a rock big enough so he can't lift it? If Yehovah would make windows in heaven, could such a thing be? The answer now, and he had said, In fact, you shall see it with your eyes, but you shall not eat of it. And so it happened to him, for the people trampled him in the gate, and he died. I think that's a good spot there. I don't think I've ever read those specific words because I haven't read every word of his word literally yet. And that's for the Father to guide someone through and not just, do what the church world doing what carnality is, which is just to blindly read it so you could say you read it is not good. That doesn't mean anything or prove anything. That's pretty incredible, though. And the thoughts come that he gives, and it connects things with real life, real works. And you start seeing how true his word is more and more through what? A lot of evil being done. That's also to say the good. It's just so rare. Through seeing good someone does is proof of the Father himself. Of course, that's huge, but seeing the evil is what we see the most. And that's a big proof of his word being true. But yes, also the good, but there's just so few. But seeing that few thing, small thing, where good is done, and it's so rare, it becomes valuable and special and astonishing to see because of the lack of it so severe, because of the negative and the darkness in this world. It just shines like a star so bright. But nevertheless, his truth is also proven through darkness, from seeing darkness, like this man saying, if it were so, can he make windows in heaven, and could it be so? Because what was the heart doing when someone said that? That's what matters. Was it wickedness? Was it total unbelief, sin, and mockery? And then the man of Elohim said, you will indeed see it, but you will not taste of it. Isn't that interesting? And I think there's more to that that's not even, I don't know, even been given specifically, because I feel like there is right now, but I can't just make something up right now. And then he got trampled. That's what happens to those who try to go against his truth and his word. But sure, at the end, it doesn't look like that. So when they trample Messiah, basically, and kill him, it doesn't look like that. So at the end of Messiah's life, it doesn't look like that. That doesn't make it not so, or false, or untrue. It's part of the truth, part of the way, is to go in the midst of sheep and be slaughtered in the midst of wolves and be slaughtered by them. Sheep sent out to slaughter. And even that isn't some blind thing. Let me go do that on purpose. Even that command, it has to be done through his way, his truth, for what it really means and how it works. As soon as someone starts doing their own works, and I'm going to make a light on myself and shine, drawing attention with the intent to draw attention for selves, to see how righteous self is. And I'm going to just trample and make a bunch of, walk around and make a bunch of noise and do evil to others so that I get evil done back to me. And then say, I am a messenger of Yehovah. I am being persecuted by the devils and the wicked. And then that person that they throw in prison because of doing actual evil and insanity, he's going to masquerade and say the words that a believer would say, so that the devil can make a true believer look like a fool that the world thinks it knows it is. Every time it will look the same to someone in this world. They'll spit on you, laugh at you, and mock you, and put a crown of thorns on you. Someone shouldn't expect anything else from snakes. Never seen a snake give someone a cup of water to quench their thirst a little. But if someone does that for another believer, they will not lose their reward. In fact, they'll gain it. But not just believers, but also to the enemy. It's to not do evil to them. Besides, teaching there with the cup of water. I think that's it then. Yeah, I got 2% left on the battery. I usually don't notice it until it battery dies, but this time caught it. All right, peace, take care, seek truth from above.